Okay. Hey there, everybody. Welcome to the Smokin Jim Show. It is July 21st, 2013. Who'd have thought we'd ever get here, right? It is hot and sticky outside, as normal in Plano, Texas, in this time of year. Had a little bit of a rain, so I had to mow my yard today because it started growing again. God damn it. It was a nice, crispy, dry, crumbly mess before. I didn't have to worry about it, but now I was out there in 100-and-something degree weather, pushing a stupid lawnmower around. Well, we are so glad you're here today, and if you're not here today, you can watch us on a recording because we have Dr. Michael Harris, who is sitting here next to Bailey. Dr. Michael Harris is a well-known hypnotherapist, among many other things. We've been talking for an hour and a half, having pizza and coffee. And, of course, there's Bailey.
Hi, all.
There you go.
Sorry, it was so long I forgot.
By the way, your camera is there, Doctor, so you know. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you know your camera's right there.
I am on my. Oh, okay.
Okay,
good.
that's your camera.
Then
Anyhow,
I'll
so
get off my phone.
turn the phone. Yeah, turn volumes down.
Oh, it's all the way down.
Thank you. I forgot to do that on mine. Although I have to leave mine up a little bit because if people call, I have to know. So there we go. All right, so we haven't had a Smokin Jim Show in a while. You know, we've just been kind of flipping and flopping around with this, trying to get the timing right and the guests on. It's kind of tough doing that now.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. I have to agree.
So it's quite a coup that we got this gentleman here tonight, I think. I think it's going to be fun. We've been talking for, like I said, about an hour and a half. He's very interesting. He's a lot of fun. He's very easygoing. And he likes pizza. I found that out. So let's see, Dr. Harris, there you are. So you are, okay, how do you classify yourself? A hypnotherapist?
Actually, in the state of Texas, you can't say hypnotherapist without a KDAC certification or some type of a degree in psychology. You can do it in almost any state in the United States, with the exception of 12 of them, in which one of them is Texas. So I refer to myself as a consulting hypnotist, even though I have a doctorate in hypnotherapy.
Wow. Okay, so, well, when one has a doctorate in hypnotherapy, I mean, I'm sorry, but to me, hypnotism and that kind of thing sounds like something kind of hokum to somebody who is trying to find a cure for whatever ails them. You don't really hear a lot about it. You hear a lot of things on the news about, well, we found this enzyme that we think can stop this virus from replicating, and we do this and that. But a few things. One thing I heard was recently about a woman having surgery without anesthesia because she had a hypnotist there. She's being hypnotized.
Absolutely.
So
one of the things I am certified in. Bring that closer.
You pull yourself in closer. So
okay.
You can,
pull me in closer.
Yeah, pull you in closer.
All right. How about now?
That's better.
How
Thank
about
you.
now?
That's good.
Okay. One of the things I am certified in is in hypnoanesthesia. There are people out there that are medically unable to deal with anesthesia.
Right. They're like this woman I mentioned.
Correct. An interesting historical point. You may have heard of these two guys called the Mayo brothers.
I think they ring a bell.
Surgeons,
like they have a clinic somewhere.
You may have heard.
Minnesota, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's called the Mayo Clinic. And these two brothers, they did this interesting thing called guided visualization, a.k.a. hypnosis. And they did 24,000 surgeries.
24,000?
24,000 surgeries without a single ether-related death. And because when they did these guided visualizations, or they did hypnosis with their clients were able to go into a deeper level of trance with a quarter of the ether. They had less surgical complications. They had no bruising, no edema. They healed faster.
Okay, so they had ether plus hypnosis?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
And the reason that you don't hear that much about hypnosis is because the AMA doesn't like hypnosis. If you're familiar with what was going on, there was this big stink in the 80s when the AMA finally they got some internal things that were going on, and they had set out to destroy the chiropractic world. and somebody got their hands on it.
They
and
still
there was
are.
this gigantic lawsuit, and then suddenly chiropractors were able to bill the insurance companies and provide care for people. Well, hypnosis doesn't require any medication. Hypnosis does not require that you have an ongoing prescription that you refill every thing.
Right.
It works, and there's no way for the medical community to make money off of it except when people pay me.
Now, I was reading your website, and one of the frequently asked questions was about self-hypnosis, and you wrote that all hypnosis is actually self-hypnosis. So if one were to learn how to do that to themselves, they wouldn't need you.
That's correct.
But yet you say that you can do that.
I'd be happy to teach people how to hypnotize themselves so that they don't need me.
Okay, it's also describe to us what let me ask you a quick question because this came to me a few days ago. In the 18 transformers, there was Dr. Mesmer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is mesmerization the same as hypnotism?
You actually have those two things crossed over. Mesmer was a French spiritualist.
Okay.
Okay, and he did animal magnetism. It was a British physician in the 1840s that actually coined the term hypnosis and taught people how to do guided visualization or how to induce trance so that he could do surgery on the battlefield because there wasn't time to administer ether. They had to put him into trance really fast, stop the blood flow, take off their arm or leg, and then move on to the next person.
Okay, you're seeing me smiling.
Hypnosis works really that fast.
Because you're seeing me smiling, and it's because you don't watch TV, so you don't know this. There's a British show called Little Britain.
Okay.
These two guys who do these skits, and one of them is a guy who just stage hypnosis. And when you said that, it's got to be really fast. I'm looking at my eyes. Look at my eyes. Not around the eyes. Not near the eyes. Look at my eyes. Like,
Yeah.
wait, you're under. It's not funny. But so being mesmerized and hypnotized, what's the difference? Mesmerized.
Mesmerism is actually where they create a focus object. There are people who are energetically more adept at convincing people of things than others. You know, now, and this particular person, Mesmer, was able to excite his customers, and most of them were female. And what he did is that he just
Okay.
kind of like zapped them, and then they would come back for more. And when he went on trips or went to go visit somebody else, they would freak out because they were addicted to him. So
That
that's-
sounds like a medium, like a traveling medium, kind of like they kind of expect,
like that.
they're getting what they expect.
Correct.
All right.
Okay. And hypnosis also works that way. I've said this a million times. You cannot hypnotize anyone without their permission. So if you're doing a hypnosis session or somebody comes in and they have decided that they're going to do something other than go into trance, they win, no problem.
Okay.
So so it has to do with the willingness of the client to follow instruction. Okay, and whether I'm putting them in trance, they're putting themselves into trance, or they're driving from here to Houston and putting themselves in trance driving a car, it still happens.
Well, see, that happens to me. That happens to everybody, I think, when
Exactly.
they drive. Like, I don't remember the past 10 miles I just drove.
Mm-hmm.
Yet I was able to keep in the lane and not run over anything and not wreck my car around a
I
tree.
think that the confusion comes from the definition of hypnosis. I have seen, and you're right, I don't watch a lot of television, and there's a reason for it. I really like television. So if it's on, I will watch it. So I keep it turned off. But you've also seen movies where they're doing the,
Yep.
that kind of thing, and they're walking around like zombies. And
Yeah.
trance is actually the opposite of that. Trance is more awareness, more control, more ability to access contexts that you wouldn't normally have access to in your conscious mind. When you're driving down the road and you jump in the car and you head down to Houston, next thing you know, you're in Corsicana. You didn't leave your body, right? The aliens didn't come get you. You were driving the whole time, and if something needed your attention, it was instantly available.
Yeah, but see, I have the feeling I need to stop and get out and make sure there's not like a person embedded in the front grill of my car, you know.
There is that.
Because like I said, I don't remember what just happened.
And some people are better subjects. You may have, when you see stage hypnosis, and you'll see these people, and they'll go and
Yeah.
let me tell you, those are the same people that would do that after 3 beers anyway.
I'm thinking, those people must be plants in the
No,
audience.
there are actually people, about 5% of the I would say about 5% of the population. They are extremely suggestible, like very, 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 very suggestible, and they will do. They can do absolutely amazing things. They do all of the hypnotic phenomena. You tell them to close their eyes and open up their eyes, and they see their dead Uncle George. They will absolutely see their dead Uncle George. But I don't want to digress too much because I don't do
Okay.
stage hypnosis. Right.
Let's go on to your.
I do have a couple questions,
Okay.
though. Is it true that you can hypnotize a person? Let's say somebody hasn't, they're going in for surgery.
Mhm.
And now I've heard that if you get to that person before the surgery, you can actually hypnotize them, take them back to the life that's causing, the past life that causes the issue, correct it, and then it won't need surgery. Is that true? Obviously, it can't be true for every surgery.
It's not,
but
I wouldn't say, you're never going to hear me say yes, absolutely. But yes, I have seen people who needed a surgery, and they went to someone, and when they got finished, they didn't need surgery anymore. And I have seen. I also go to hypnosis conventions. So, and one of the things that you need to know is hypnotists are the world's greatest trance subjects. Because in order to go into trance, you have to show. If I'm going to put you into trance, wouldn't it be easier for me to show you where you needed to go?
Sure.
Okay.
Yes.
So I've actually seen a hypnotherapist. He lives on the East Coast. I will skip his name because I don't have permission to get his name out. And he can put himself into trance like this, and you can put a blood pressure cuff on one side and a blood pressure cuff on the other, and he will just sit there, and over here he's about ready to stroke out because his heart rate is pretty close to 200, and over here it's 10 or 15.
So he's half corpse, half stroke
Yeah.
victim.
And he has gotten to the point where he has that much control over his body. You've heard of the Indian fakers that can
Right.
slow their heart down. I've actually seen somebody that can make like symbols appear in their hand and stuff just by pushing the blood to their hand. And that's kind of interesting. The way that hypnoanesthesia works is you actually when you put somebody into trance, they're going to go for a very specific surgery, and you set up a series of triggers that they're the one flipping the switches, and you literally slow the heart rate down. You literally give instructions for the body to move the blood around, except for that area where they're doing the surgery, so they bleed less.
Wow.
And when the surgery is over, it increases the blood flow. Have you ever heard of surgeons like now in the night, or it started in the late 90s, but on through is when they're doing, if they were doing a surgical reattachment, you accidentally cut your finger off. Okay, so the surgeon would go in and they'd reattach your finger, and the very last thing that they would do after they reattach it is they would put leeches on this side of the sutures, because leeches have these nifty little chemicals that causes an increased blood flow. Well, it already exists in nature. So if it already exists in nature, that means that we have access to it.
So they have anticoagulants,
Indeed.
like mosquitoes,
Correct.
probably fleas.
Probably those two. So you can teach people how to do that. I had somebody come into the office, and this was several years ago, and she had 4 impacted wisdom teeth, and she happened to be allergic to anesthesia. She was absolutely terrified. And I had to work with her several times to help her get over her fears. But once I taught her how to do this method, she in her mind, she went up into the control panel, turned off all the sound, because it was the dental equipment that was really bugging her.
Oh,
so we
Jesus,
we
yes.
went up in the sound booth, turned all the sound off, and she watched the surgery from the sound booth.
Yeah, I mean, who hasn't, whenever they hear that, doesn't just like, oh,
Precisely.
and just cringe. Oh,
and
that drill?
she had no bleed. And generally, when they do wisdom teeth and stuff, there's usually bruising, a lot of swelling. She had no bruising, no swelling. And the thing that really aggravated her is that apparently they've changed the law. What she wanted her teeth back. She wanted the 4 wisdom teeth because she's one of those people that she wanted to have a funeral service for the part of her body that was removed. But
Oh, that's interesting.
I meet some fun people, really fun people.
I wonder who she invited to the funeral.
She didn't,
She didn't have one. They didn't give her the teeth. I
They gave
the
me my
most-
teeth.
They changed
They-
the law.
They changed the law. They would not give her.
What kind of
teeth.
law says you can't have your own body
It's a
back?
biohazard.
Okay, you know, I can see that. I can understand that. All right.
I think
Can't
the
they
most,
test it for
the most
biohazard?
I think the most interesting case that I have done recently was a lady who was at risk of having to have gallbladder surgery, and she was very, very upset about having to have a surgery. She'd already had a single mastectomy, and now she was having a problem, and they were going to have to, and fairly serious problem, and it looked like that they were going to have to take her gallbladder out, and she was too ill to travel to see me, so I made a house call, and we had a very interesting conversation in trance with her gallbladder, and we had to contact her amputated breast to come in, and those 2 body parts had a conversation about what it is that they needed to do to fix the gallbladder, and she still has it.
This sounds a lot like Madeline Lingal.
I don't know who that is.
She wrote A Wrinkle in Time.
Okay.
And the next one, A Wind in the Door, which was about something very similar.
Yeah, my experience of hypnosis, which started out very innocently, and I think we were talking about that before the show, is I wanted to learn how to communicate better with the people that I worked with. And then I just continued going, and I got certified in neurolinguistic programming, and then I got my master's certification. And ultimately, I opened up a personal training facility, and you know, my clients did great because I taught them how to set goals, and I helped them with their automatic language, and we worked on their motivation strategies. And then a funny thing happened. When I took NLP training, they said, "Oh, you don't really need hypnosis. NLP and hypnosis are very, very similar. Language patterns are the same." And I was always curious about why they thought that you didn't need that type of training, considering all of the founders of neurolinguistics took hypnosis first. So I thought, okay. So I took hypnosis, and to my amazement, my NLP change work strategies stuff, they just got bigger, better, more robust. And it wasn't too terribly long after that I got very bored with personal training, sold my gym, and went back to school and learned every single solitary thing that I could do about hypnosis. And one of the ways that I supported myself was working with USA Gymnastics. And at one time I had 11 different gymnastic teams in 5 different states, and I did mental coaching with them. It was a blast.
That sounds fun.
It was a blast.
Anybody that we all know?
I'm sorry, I don't speak English.
Okay.
That would be extremely inappropriate.
Okay.
Yeah.
That whole, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. It's that same thing, that there's a level of ethical standard that you must maintain
Okay, I
in
understand.
order for people to trust you.
I understand that, but people think of hypnosis in that level that, you can't talk about it because you're ashamed of it?
It's not that they're ashamed of it, it's private.
Okay. But it's not like I had to see a shrink or something.
That would be private too.
I know, but I'm saying, I don't personally, I don't equate the two. Like seeing a hypnotist, because to help me with my mental game.
Okay. It is very normal for me to get a telephone call from somebody and they come in, and most people think of hypnosis as a method of getting rid of, they've got a bad habit, they've got a behavior, they've got whatever it is, and they just want to come into the office and have me nip that little baby out, and then they go back. Okay? What is more normal to happen is that they come in, they solve this problem, but generally whatever it is that is showing up in their world as this, symptom in quotation marks, is actually a derivative of what the actual problem is.
Okay, so that it ends
Okay.
up being kind of like a psychological issue.
Correct.
Dealt with in a different way.
For example, I had somebody come in and you know, and I do interesting stuff. Everything from amputations to people with stage 4 breast cancer. I mean, it really runs the gamut of what I do, and I seem to have an attraction to people who have autoimmune disorders, and people that have things that medical science absolutely, you know, they go, great, you're gonna die, see ya. And they, you know, and if they're out of insurance or they can't be cured by medication, medical community doesn't have anything to do with them. They're done. They're
Yeah,
done with you.
that's one of my pet peeves.
And
But
it's
the
one of my
insurance
pet
thing is-
peeves too, because if I lived in the UK, I would probably work in a clinic, and down the hall would be, you know, an OB-GYN, and you know,
Or in
next
France.
to them might be a cardiologist or an acupuncturist across the hall, and the clinical massage therapist is in the next office to me. It is a very respected profession that I have everywhere except the U.S.
Okay, well, right now, hi, it's me. I'm back again. You'd look at me for a few minutes. Anyway, this is Smokin Jim. It is 5:26 p.m. We've been on the air for a while now. Let's take a little bit of a break. First, I'm going to get some music started, and that is, oh God, it's Billy Ray Cyrus. Anyway, it is Country Sunday. So we're going to play some of that. We're going to come back again with Dr. Michael Harris and with Bailey, and I'm having a good time so far. This is great. So stay with us here on the Smokin Jim Show, and we'll be back soon. Thank you. Hi, we're back here on the Smokin Jim Show. It is 5:46 p.m. Central Standard Time here in the Big P, Plano, Texas. I was just outside and it's still freaking hot out there. I went into my garage to get a microphone stand for Dr. Harris here, and I mean, I go in there and I'm afraid my lawnmower is going to blow up just from spontaneous combustion or something, you know? God. Anyway, so naturally, what are we drinking? Coffee. I've got Smokin Jim coffee. These two have just regular old boring coffee. Anyhow, so welcome back to the show. I've had a great time so far with Dr. Harris, and we're going to have more fun because this is really an interesting topic. It goes into a lot more than just hypnotherapy and all kinds of stuff. I mean, talking to you, sir, off air, you seem to have a lot of interests that you are active in, that you actively pursue, that anybody else might think would just be kind of peripheral to your avocation, to your career.
Perhaps.
But it seems that there is quite a lot of connections between the two, between that and spiritualism. And well, you were talking to Bailey and I was mentioning just a few seconds ago that I tend to relieve myself of tension. And I do this when I'm driving by having conversations with myself and one or two imaginary people about the topic of the day. I mean, I was ranting about the Trayvon Martin case, and I was ranting about some other boob with who the heck was, I can't remember his name, who probably Pat Robertson. That's a good one. About the same-sex marriage rights and just personal human rights for other people. And you said that it was what? You called that what now?
It's first position, second position, third position. It's teaching people to take different perspectives. Frequently, when people have a problem, or if they have some type of an issue, it's because they're looking at it from one perspective. And what I was talking about is everybody's heard of Gandhi, or at least saw the movie. Ben Kingsley
Won the Oscar for it.
Indeed. Gandhi had an interesting dilemma. He lived in a country that was divided by two major religions, Hindu and Muslim. He also had the British.
Right.
And whenever he was going to give a speech, whenever he was going to do a debate, he was going to do some type of a demonstration, what he did was he would set up 3 different chairs. And he would pretend that the chief representative for the Hindus and the chief representative for the British consulate and the chief representative for the Muslims were there, and he literally would present his case or his idea, and then he would sit in that space and try to think of all of the consequences and the responses possible from that individual. And then if you think about it, everybody has some kind of a problem, or they've had an experience that they didn't really like the way that it ended up. Okay, so would Superman feel the same way? That's a different perspective. If you were watching it from 500 feet, would it have the same veracity as it had one-on-one? If you were standing in the body of the person that you were having the interaction with, and you were watching the reaction, watching your face and listening to your responses, would it change your perspective? And that's generally what I am attempting to do when I meet with people. Is the definition of a skill is that you have an ability to do something in many, many contexts with different people, and that you have multiple ways of solving problems, challenges, difficulties in this one particular context, and that's called mastery. And the example that I have used before is sex. Everybody's had sex. You've probably had sex with more than one person, and you've probably had sex, in the morning, in the evening, and in the car, in the movie theater, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Depending on how exciting your life is. And in 20 years, I've only had one person tell me, no, I've only had sex with one person. So, that analogy didn't work for that person, but almost everybody else goes, oh yeah, sucks. So in that particular context, you probably have achieved some level of mastery. Okay? The definition of a problem is that you experience one situation in one context and you only have one solution. Well, what happens when that solution doesn't work?
Then
Now you got a problem. Okay? So by giving people an opportunity to look at different perspectives or different viewpoints, it widens their analog and gives them more of an ability to solve that problem. And trance, aka hypnosis, is a way of teaching people to view a problem, and then they might be able to pull in other solutions that existed in a different context.
Okay. See, when I do this, what I described to you, like when I'm driving home, it takes about 15, 20 minutes, and I can actually be like not yelling, but I could no, you are wrong. That is so stupid. And I'm imagining what they're saying to me, but I'm not trading places with them.
You could try that.
But then I might be wrong.
Oh no!
Imagine
Wait.
that.
Yeah. What would happen if you were wrong?
See, to me, the whole exercise wasn't even like an exercise. Like, I'm going to try this and see what this does to me. I'm venting is what I'm doing.
And it's in a safe location. You're in your car. The windows are up.
And it's
the
night,
AC
and nobody can really see me,
Exactly.
and AC is on, and I'm like, yeah.
And
But the thing is, let me interrupt you 1 second. When I had that big 15, 20-minute yelling jag, and we were yelling at each other, me and this other entity, I felt a lot better.
Absolutely.
Even though, I did not take somebody else's side, although I do realize I understand their point of view. I'm just telling them my point of view.
Right.
That I don't think they understood. I don't think they took into account as well as I think they could have.
So you actually got to have your say, but in a virtual environment.
Yes.
Okay. That's important.
And I really felt
It's
a
very
lot better just to verbalize it. And say, and I mean, when I was in the restaurant business since I was 17, I've always been the one somebody comes to, like, Jim, my life sucks. I'm like, okay, what's wrong? And only because I wasn't really trying to be so nice. I'm just like, make sure that, are you going to be able to cover your shift tonight? Are you like that much of a wreck?
Priorities.
Yeah. But I was old enough to be the father of almost everybody who worked in that dining room. And they know I'm gay, and they know that I'm open to a lot of different things. And that I'm friendly, and that I want things to be done correctly, but I'm not going to hit them over the head if they make a mistake. Anyway, they feel that they are able to come to me for things.
You create a safe space.
I hope so. I've always said, if you need something to talk, about something, don't yell and come at me like, just say, hey, can I sit and talk with you? And I'll say, sure, we'll sit and talk for a while. What?
Yeah, that happens to me. Well, I go into a store and people want to talk to me and they can keep me forever. So, you just can't get away from it.
You and I have already had that conversation. You, big energy, no, zero boundaries.
Yeah.
Well, see,
We're
I do the
working
same
at-
thing. I think I tend to I take on the problems of the world because I want them to feel better. And I think that, the other motive is, yes, we have to run a business here, and I need you at your top of your game here, so I'm going to help you through this. And
So I have a question for you.
Huh?
While you're busy taking on all that juice, how are you grounding it?
How am I grounding myself?
No, how are you grounding their energy? I mean, if you're allowing people to use you as a conduit to like cast off all the stuff that they're carrying around that they don't want to, are you making sure that you are clearing your channel?
Well,
That's very important.
I don't know.
Somebody who is interested in the help field, whether it's in social work or they want to be a therapist or a hypnotist, because there are people that go, oh wow, you have a really cool job. Yeah, it's a great job, but you also have to do maintenance. You also have to. Have you ever heard the Japanese, the Japanese saying the master wood carver sharpens his own tools. You have to clean,
okay.
you have to clean You keep yourself clear, keep yourself clean, and keep yourself mentally in the center, because once people have gotten the idea that they can come throw up on you anytime that they want, what if you're not ready? What if you are not in a position to receive that? And
Okay.
you need to make absolutely certain that you have the ability to set a boundary and say, I'm absolutely interested in what you have to say, not now.
That would happen once in a while, like, when I was really busy. And when somebody came to me for something and they needed something, I think I put myself in this role. That happened when my dad left and my younger sisters, and it pissed them off completely.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up being, not really trying to be, but ended up being anyway, more like a parent figure than a brother, an older brother.
Because somebody had to step up.
I didn't really think that, well, somebody's got to step up here. I just kind of like did
No, it
it.
happened.
But then, in this restaurant, when I was so close to these people, because we had people who had been working there for years and years and years,
Okay.
and we were all very close, and I was the father figure, the parent figure, not just because I was the boss, but because I was old enough, and I guess, and I didn't judge. And they would come to me whether I was ready for it or not. But I would never turn them away.
Right.
I would never say, I can't deal with it right now. I mean, there were times when, like, look, I've got 30 people at the front door, 2 lines are ringing, and the kitchen's on fire. I can't talk right now. Is this an emergency? No? Okay. Go sit, put your head down for a minute, and I'll come back to you.
Okay, you do have boundaries.
I have what?
Good. Boundaries.
Oh, yeah, I've got boundaries. There are some things when I would eventually say, look, you know what? You've said the same thing to me 4 times in the past 2 days. Okay? You've got to make the decision of how you want to change this, because I can't do it for you. If you need a sounding board, I'm happy to be there for you. But right now, I've really got to get to the store and buy some bread. I've got to get Bailey to deliver some bread to me. Anyhow, how we got into this? I really don't remember the.
We were
root of this
talking about
topic.
perspectives.
Okay.
And giving people an opportunity to have a different perspective is one of the ways that you manage yourself. And it actually happens to be one of the ways that I tell people, if you really want to have an opportunity to have a good conversation with yourself, go for a drive. And if I'm working on something, or if I need to make a decision, you've heard the term, well, I'm going to sleep on it and then I'll make a decision.
Right.
That is another way of creating space and creating a boundary in which that you're putting yourself into a position where you can communicate with your unconscious mind and you can get different perspectives. And I'm a huge proponent of napping.
I love
Absolutely.
a nap. Oof, yes.
They should be legislated.
It should be like taught in school. And okay, well, one example is that proves your point is, the whole Trayvon Martin thing. And I'm not going to come down on one side or the other. But I was on one side, and then I had this huge conversation with myself driving home from work, and I pretty much switched sides on the whole issue. Not really switching, but I understood exactly why. I hated the outcome, but I understand why it happened, so I'm no longer angry at it. So I did kind of allow myself to have other opinions enter my fat little head and root there and make their presence known. So I think it did me a world of good over the whole topic. I don't want to go into the topic per se, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I kind of live like a guy if you went to go visit a holy man in Tibet and you ask him about what he thought about the Zimmerman thing, his answer would probably be very similar to mine. I don't watch the news. I think that the news is designed to sell news. I don't think that they have anything worthwhile in it. I don't think that it creates better human beings because of the news. So, although I'm aware of what's going on, I'm also blithely unaware.
Right. I actually, people who have commented on it to me, I said, you know what? I wasn't there. I don't know all the information. I can't comment on how things should be because I don't have what's necessary. I wasn't there. All I know is what the news is telling me, and they tell me all the fantastical, bleeding, gory, scary stuff.
it's so negative.
Well, also, I mean, in this case, justice and the law don't always meet.
Correct.
And you have to understand that. And when you understand that, then when you understand why somebody did what they did, even if you hate it, then at least you don't hate them anymore. You understand what they did, which is how I overcame hating my parents, whom I wanted to beat. And no, I got over that, more or less.
No, you haven't.
Yes, a lot more. I've gotten
You're
over.
getting better at it.
Anyway,
It's a work in progress. That's all.
it's always a work in progress.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think and I've told this to my employees all the time, if you fuck up, if you're trying, really trying, I'm behind you 100%. If you're being a jack off, then you're out of here. But if you're screwing it up and you're really trying, I'll be there to help you out with it.
I think
No
that
sweat.
I think that when people are making mistakes, our society is organized in such a way, if remember when you were in school and you take a spelling test that has 100 words, okay, and you miss one word, it doesn't come back with a 99 on it. It comes back with a -1. It's almost as if the other 99 that you got correctly are completely irrelevant and invalidated because you missed one. And I think that we probably need to focus on, and that's what I try to do with my clients and coaching clients, is I want them to focus on what they're doing right. I want to know how it is that they are doing what they're doing correctly, so that we can take that information and literally make a copy of it and map it over into the context of their lives that are not working as well or not working at the level that they would like them to.
Sure. What is the first word that most kids know? No. The first words they say, no. Stop.
Mm-hmm.
My youngest sister's first words were shut up and stupid. Which we always laughed at because we really weren't that bad as a family, but we kind of like, oh, jeez. Mm-hmm. Well, my sister had older siblings who were like, shut up, stupid, just being older siblings. But I thought it was kind of funny. But a kid learns the word no instead of what a good boy, what a girl, I don't know, something else. Mm-hmm. It's and
then
when
they're punished for learning that word.
Well, also when you were mentioning the spelling test, I thought, how Catholic school is that?
I'm still afraid of penguins.
I went to Catholic school first, second, third grade.
With Sister Mary Elephant.
Actually, I called her Sister Mary Malevolent. Mm-hmm. And the principal, Sister Mary Edward G. Robinson. You're going to hell, see? Hell, yeah, yeah. None of your sass, sister. I mean, I kind of find it funny now, since I actually don't have a religion. My mother tried. Sorry, Ma. Next time. But it was, I got really tired of, I think I was 16 when I finally said, this is a bunch of horse shit for me. And anybody else, is this what your bag is? Fine. But I just got so tired of being called a sinner. And that I was bad.
There's an interesting book, and I did a radio show on this book, and it's written by a lady by the name of Karen Pryor. It's called Don't Shoot the Dog, and it's about positive reinforcement or clicker training. And she is
clicker?
Yeah, like a clicker. You know that they train dogs, they train horses, and they do all these things. Well, she actually is now doing clicker training inside of the corporate America and teaching positive reinforcement training. It's actually a really interesting way of doing things, in which, if you think about how much negative reinforcement that we get in the United States, you don't show up to work on time, they don't pay you. Okay, if you don't if you break the law, you go to jail. They give you a ticket. They do something. So every single solitary
those are the big issues. I mean, when you said that, I thought of your body's not right. Your hair, you should have hair.
Absolutely.
That car is terrible. Your car is so out of fashion. Your clothes are stupid.
Okay, so if you think of the level of negative reinforcement that we get, no wonder people get to the point where they are so numb that they just don't care. Conversely, if you look at positive reinforcement training, the very first thing that you have to do is you have to teach the subject a target. Okay, so if you wanted Bailey to to do something, and you had to click her, and she was doing some type of a random behavior until she did the one you wanted. You click, and it's like. And I actually I posted a YouTube. Somebody posted on Failblog, and I'm a huge fan of Failblog because they have crazy stuff. And they did a experiment in which they had a duck call, wah thing, and they had their little brother, and they would do this duck call, and they would shoot him with a cork. Okay, and it took 12 times. Because they'd do the duck call, they'd shoot him. Do the duck call, they'd shoot him. He's like, cut it out, and all this stuff. But one day it happened. A learning occurred. They did the duck call, and this kid hit the ground. Okay? And we teach our significant other, we teach our spouses, we teach our family, we teach our employees or our employers how to treat us. And the thing that's really interesting is if you take 100% responsibility for whatever is going on in your life, whether it's good or bad or really crappy or whatever it is that you think, if you take responsibility and say, hey, I created that, guess what? You have all the power now. Because if you created it, you can change it.
I understand that, and I know that, but it's not something that automatically occurs to me.
No, you have to work
a
at
problem.
it.
Yeah, like when I have a flat tire, I created
created
that somehow.
that. Absolutely.
And you know what? That is something that I tell people. My life is terrible. How come this happens to me all the time? Because you're doing it to yourself. I'm not. Yes, you are. You don't know it. You don't realize it. But everything that happens to you, you are creating somehow. So you've got to think of a positive attitude and yippity yappity yop.
One of the most important language shifts that people can make. This is something simple, and I'm going to try to pick some things that people can take away from the show. And if anybody wants to call in and ask questions, I'm sure you'll give them the number.
Yes.
But when you make the shift from I have to I get to, it changes the entire dynamic of whatever it is going on. And I actually have a friend of mine who is terminal right now. She has a gigantic tumor in her liver, and she has done every single possible chemo, blah, 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 that is available. She's going to die. Okay? And I've never seen anybody in my entire life that's so positive than this person. She got the information. She went, great. And then she immediately started looking for solutions, and she went to MD Anderson, and she did all of these different things, and they said, well, we don't know if this will work. Great, let's do it anyway. And now that they've given her this new diagnosis, she's like, okay, here's my bucket list. And she's getting the opportunity, and her entire attitude throughout this process is, I get to do this. I've had this great life, I have this great job, I have great kids, I have a great family. And I got to do that. Now I have this new experience where she's going to experience death, and much younger than she really needs to. But her view is, I get to do this now. I get to do this before all of my friends.
Well, of course, she obviously also has the attitude that this is not all there is.
Right.
Well, the other thing, people are so afraid, well, you don't want to be dead, do you? Well, it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah, you can't get out of here
unless you're dead.
That way.
Oh, I hate getting old. Well, you could be dead.
Right.
It's neither one is bad. You've done it a lot of times. Trust me, you're going to be fine.
I've seen old people, and I have, and I have.
Oh, I thought like professionally.
Yeah. Well,
I've seen
old people, but and I may get older, but I refuse to get old. I will be one of those guys that you will have to track down with a SWAT team, because I'll be like 254 years old doing yoga, and you'll go in, we got to get rid of this guy.
Eating yogurt.
Absolutely.
He's giving the AMA a bad name. Get rid of him.
Yeah. They're going to have to. They're going to have to come find me, because I am enjoying this life every single moment of every single day.
My dad said this, and he got it from a Hagar the Horrible cartoon. It's like, well, I'm not as young as I used to be, but I'm not as old as I'm going to be.
Exactly.
So I might as well enjoy what I got right now, because it's going to get a lot older.
Yeah. You've heard that thing. Later on we're going to look at this and laugh. Let's do it now.
Or there is a song from La Cage aux Folles, The Best of Times Is Now.
Precisely.
So with that, we're going to take a bit of a break, because I got to change camera angles here. And there I am. Hi, this is Smokin Jim here on the Smokin Jim Show. It is 6:10 p.m. Central Standard Time here in the Big P, Plano, Texas. My guest tonight is Dr. Michael Harris. Of course, there's Bailey here, who is all dressed to the nines. She's going dancing or something tonight.
I'm dressed usual.
Okay, she's dressed to the fours. Anyway, be back in a few minutes. Let me first put on some music, and we're going to ask Dr. Harris some more questions and get some more info. He's a lot of fun. He's going to be back here a lot. I have a funny feeling. So stick with us here on the Smokin Jim Show. Thank you. Hi. We're back again on the Smokin Jim Show. It is 6:18 p.m. Central Standard Time in the Big P of Plano, Texas. And it's hot. I was just outside, and it's freaking hot. My tomato plant, according, and I agree, and I say this, and then my producer and my guest agree. Thomas' tomato plant is doing quite well. He was this big when I bought him 2 months ago. He is like this gigantic monstrosity coming out of the topsy-turvy thing I bought, and he's like flowering everywhere. I love tomatoes this freaking big in no time at all. And Bailey and I are going to do a cooking show with making some homemade tomato sauce when we get those tomatoes.
Oh, really?
We talked about this, and you said, oh, that's a great
Oh,
idea.
that must have been a day I wasn't listening to you. Yes, we can do that.
All right, now, Dr. Harris can be here and sample tomato sauce. Don't eat that part, sir. That's only for Bailey. When I was reading your website, drmichaelharris.com, there was one thing, one of the frequently asked questions was who can't be hypnotized? I'll just have to go look for it. And one of the things said somebody with a very low IQ. Now,
It's harder. It's not impossible. It's harder.
Yeah, except that I have not been able to be hypnotized. It's been tried before, and I happen to have a very high IQ. Thank you very kindly.
Okay.
So, what does that mean? Why would that make a difference, frankly?
You're special.
I don't know what my IQ is right now. At the highest, it was 137. That was years ago. But
Let me give you a long answer. There are a couple of different varieties of hypnosis based on people's model of the world. When I originally learned hypnosis, it was what is described as clinical hypnosis, and it's what most people are familiar with, and it's that whole concept of deeper, deeper, deeper. So it's it's a very narrow band, and it's a very deep depth, and it's one of those things that makes coma states and hypnotic anesthesia and things work really, really well. But it also only works with about 25% of the population. The other variety of hypnosis that I do is called Ericksonian hypnosis, and it is indirect, and it is based on utilization. So, for example, if you're doing a indirect trance using Ericksonian hypnosis, and I say to you, Jim, eventually, at some point, everybody has to blink, right?
mm-hmm.
And when they blink their eyes, you say, that's right. And what you're doing is that you are...
I did that on purpose, by the way.
Of course. And what you're doing is that you're setting up what is described as a yes set in order to gain the confidence of the person's unconscious mind. In order for hypnosis to work, you have to bypass the critical mind. Okay? And there are people out there, you have identified yourself as one of them, that are very, very intelligent. And no, you're very intelligent. Okay. You have a laser-like critical mind, and everything absolutely has to make sense. And there's nothing sensible about hypnosis.
Wait, can I interrupt you on that one?
Sure.
Because I don't think that everything has to make sense. I think everything does make sense. I may not understand it, but it does make sense.
That'll work. Okay.
I'm not one that says, I can't accept it until it makes sense. I accept a lot of things just on faith, and because it's probably right.
But if you look at my FAQs, one of the things that it will tell you is no one can be hypnotized without their permission.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
and
even though that you have voluntarily said, okay, well, I'll let you put me into hypnosis, there's a part of you that's going, oh, hell no. And so up until now, nobody has offered you a trance that is more interesting than the one that you're currently in.
Okay, so is somebody deciding to use hypnosis for quitting smoking, for instance?
Mm-hmm.
Is it going to work for them if they really don't want to quit smoking?
No.
Because I quit smoking like 8-9 years, I can't remember how many years ago.
Right.
And the thing was, I really wanted to.
Then it's easy.
And people say, well, I got to quit. I know this is no good for me. I really got to quit. Well, and I said, I've got a way to do it, and it's not that hard. Oh, how? It's like, well, you can't unless you really want to.
Right.
Saying I should isn't the same thing.
Correct.
All right, so
My answer to people who want to stop smoking is I say, well, stop buying them.
That's what I say. Stop. They're like $10 a pack, for Christ's sake.
Yeah,
You can
it's
buy,
really-
within a month, you can buy a new sofa.
It's really, really simple. Stop buying them.
Actually, mine was a bit
So
more convoluted, but it worked.
the FAQ is based on what most people's understanding of what clinical hypnosis is, that is based on 25% of the population being suggestible in that manner, and in which people that have a low IQ frequently do not fit into that demographic.
Okay. It just sounded like, well, if you can't be hypnotized, then you're probably stupid.
No, not really.
And I went, well.
No, the process, the definition between clinical hypnosis and Ericksonian hypnosis is, in clinical hypnosis, trance is something that you go into and out of. In Ericksonian hypnosis, the premise is that we are all in trance at varying times, and our consciousness levels shift up and down. My question is that is the trance that you're in, is it working for you, or would you like another?
Okay, that's becoming a bit more clear in my mind.
Does that make sense? Well, it's a lot more easy. It's a lot easier than going, oh my God, I've got to put Bailey into trance. Well, I don't know if I can do that. Well, if I already presuppose that she's in a trance, there's nothing for me to do.
Well, you know what? We've got about half an hour left in the show. A little bit more than that.
Yeah.
Can we put Bailey into a trance?
Sure. Would Bailey like to go into trance?
Are you kidding?
Are you Bailey now?
No, but I know Bailey.
Actually, I would like to.
Okay.
Well, we discussed it, and we made sure that nobody else was here, so she would be relaxed. And I usually get her a glass of wine or something before a show, and no alcohol, because we didn't think alcohol would be the best thing when one is about to be hypnotized.
A intravenous phenobarbital drip works really well.
I ran out last week.
Bummer.
Darn.
But now I am going to get up and. Okay, well, how do you normally do this? I mean, you're sitting next to each other here, and before you got here, I was talking to Bailey and saying, I don't know if there should be like more relaxed kind of chair or position, or should you be
fine?
Yeah.
Okay.
Relax.
All right. So.
Relax.
Relax.
Yeah.
But what I'm thinking of is the sound. So.
Okay.
The camera's on you guys. I'm going to get up and wander around and get that mic in a position where I think might be conducive to everybody hearing what's going on. So,
Okay.
Be right back.
Do you want to leave the camera running?
The camera's running on you guys. This is family.
Yeah.
So, if
If-
you're going to be kind of like you are at right now,
I'm good.
right, I'm thinking of just kind of moving this. There.
Okay.
And Bailey's got her
Right
body
here.
mic on. She got
Okay.
her body mic on. Ouch, damn it. Shut up.
Good chair. Nice chair.
Okay, doctor, just say something.
Something?
Well done. Very well done.
How now, brown cow?
The dead crocodile jumped over the comfy couch.
The quick brown frogs jumped over the giant pile of waffles.
There's no Z.
Waffles.
Well, yeah, waffles. Yeah. Yes, I know that phrase. Okay, so
Is that okay?
I just want to make sure that everybody can hear you.
Okay. 'Cause
And,
I have a
okay, right now
I
the
have
camera's
a
on
tendency
me.
to talk very softly. So I
Okay.
don't know if that's.
Well, I'm going to say,
so if
okay,
you-
everybody, I'm on camera now. Everybody be quiet. Oh, do whatever you think is be best. I mean, I'm just trying to be polite, not shove that thing in your face.
No, I'm cool. I mean, what I want to know is that when I lower my voice to this level, that you're going to be able to hear me.
Yes, I should. Yeah.
Okay.
We can hear you.
And
Now,
me, if I lean back so that I'm comfortable, because this is just not.
well, you've got the
comfortable.
body mic on.
Well,
All right. Okay. Hold on one second.
Camera.
Everybody, right now, Dr. Michael Harris is going to demonstrate hypnosis on Bailey. This could be either an exercise in futility or the coming apocalypse. One doesn't know. I'm
And either
kidding.
one of them's okay.
Yeah, and everything's going to be fine.
it's all good.
Okay, so back to Dr. Harris and Bailey. All right, I'm going to move the camera around a bit so we can get you both in here.
Okay. Yeah,
Can you shove? You can't, because you got that big can in front of
I
you.
can go in maybe an inch.
Okay, I've got you both in there now. So, I will keep my mouth shut, which is going to be tough on me.
Yes, it is. Enjoy it because he's never quiet.
Really? All right, I'm
All right,
done.
so let's talk for a moment. What are you interested in discovering? I mean, just think of yourself as like Dora the Explorer. You got your backpack on and your little hat. Where is it that you'd like to go? Is there a certain question that you have that you'd like to have answered by your unconscious mind, or do you just want the experience of going down the elevator? Because you told me before the show started that sometimes you have a little difficulty staying asleep, and sometimes you have a little difficulty getting out of bed
Yes.
refreshed like you would really like to.
Well, I go to sleep. I stay to sleep.
Mhm.
Great. I just can't get up in the morning. But
Okay.
I have two huge questions that are back to back. They are
Are they the same question?
close.
Okay.
Okay. My biggest concern, well, my biggest thing lately is for the past few weeks, I have this nagging need to know who I really am and where I'm really from.
Okay.
So, can you help with that?
I don't know. We can
Okay.
give it a whirl.
Well, I'll let you do it if you can. Let me
Okay.
get comfortable here. I'm closed up.
All right. So let's do a couple of things. One of the things that we're going to do, and if you don't mind, I'm going to talk about you in third person, like you're not here,
Okay.
because we're on a radio show. So one of the things that we're going to be doing with Bailey is we're going to be doing some what is called idiomotor signaling, which is yes no signals, because the domain of the conscious mind is your head. You know, like yes, no, I don't know. So asking you, to go into an altered state and then answer my question by nodding your head doesn't seem very sharp. Okay? So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to put your fingertips about 4 inches apart. Just leave them on your lap.
Okay.
Okay? And I want you to just pick a spot out there on the wall. Okay?
Okay.
And what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to think about something that you would normally answer yes to, like, can I give you a bar of gold? Would you like to go to dinner after the show? And just think about, see, we already got our response. And Jim, I don't know if your camera pulls in or not. Lovely. And so what I'm looking for is the signals of her hands answering even before her head has answered the question. And all right, so let's take a moment and think about something that you would normally say no to. Like, would you like to have a freshly baked pie full of raw meat? Okay, and actually, even before you giggled, we got a hand signal. So one of the
Doctor, I can see your hands. Her hands are visible. So.
They are visible?
Yes.
Okay, so that you can see them.
Yes.
So one of the things that I want the people to do is to notice that just about the same time that I'm answering the question, that her fingers will twitch and her thumb will twitch. And actually her thumb is the no thumb and her finger is the yes finger, by the way. Yeah. Well, you don't have to whisper, she can hear us. Okay. So anyway, what we're attempting to do is we want to establish a connection with your unconscious mind, because what you're asking for is something that's very, very serious, and you wanted to know who you really are and where you come from. Is that correct? And what I'd like to know is if we have permission to do that in such a way that you find out the information. And what I wanted to tell your unconscious mind, there you go. What I wanted to tell your unconscious mind is whatever it is that you discover between you and you is very, very private. So in a moment, not yet, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to continue staring at that spot on the wall. And I want you to focus all of your attention on that spot on the wall. And as you focus in and you notice that that spot is coming closer, you'll notice that everything around you is getting a little bit dimmer, a little bit more out of focus as that spot draws in a little bit closer. Now here's something interesting that's going to happen. As you continue looking at that spot, one of the things that you're going to notice is that your eyes are beginning to get a little bit tired, maybe even a little heavy, and perhaps even a little bit sleepy or droopy or drowsy. And eventually, Bailey, they're just going to want to close. And when they close, I just want you to allow all of that stress and all of that tension to just flow right out of your eyes and down your cheekbones. And it doesn't really matter to me whether it happens in 2 minutes or in 30 seconds. But you know, eventually, everybody has to close their eyes, even if it's to blink. That's it. So the next time, the very next time that you feel like you need to blink, just go ahead and allow those eyes to close. And when they do, there you go. Just allow them to close. That's it. And what I want you to do is just allow your cheekbones and your cheeks to relax. And allow that relaxation, that comfort to flow up your forehead and over across your scalp and down your neck and into your shoulders. And then I want all of that comfort and all of that relaxation to flow into your right arm, past your right elbow, and all the way down into your hands, right into the tips of your thumb and your fingers. So as you're breathing in and out, your right hand is beginning to get very, very heavy and very, very loose and very, very limp and very, very relaxed. And then I want you to let that relaxation flow over to the left shoulder and down your left arm and past your elbow and beyond the wrist and into the thumb and the fingers of your left hand. So that kind of like your right hand, your left hand is beginning to get very heavy and very comfortable and very relaxed. Now in a moment, not yet, but in a moment, I'm going to count to 3. And when I say the number 3, you're going to open your eyes and once again focus on that spot that you were looking at on the wall. But an interesting thing is going to happen is that your arms will continue to be very relaxed and very loose and very limp, even though your eyes are open. So 1, 2, 3. Open your eyes and stare at that spot and feel your vision zoom in once again. But doesn't it feel very interesting that your arms and your hands and your fingers and your neck are still very relaxed? Now in a moment, as you're staring at that spot, once again your eyes will get heavy. Your eyes will feel like that they want to close. And when they finally want to, just allow them to close. That's it. And just allow that feeling of relaxation to flow down your chest and down your abdomen all the way into the right leg, so that your right leg is feeling very heavy and very loose and very limp and very relaxed. And then the left leg also gets very loose and very limp and very relaxed. So from the top of your head all the way down to the tips of your toes and fingers, your body feels very comfortable. And you'll notice how easy it is to relax the physical body. But now it's also time to relax your mind. And I know that you know what a carousel looks like. It's got a bunch of horses on it, and it spins round and round and round. But the carousel inside of your head spins around very, very quickly, doesn't it? Yeah. So what we're going to do on the count of three, is we're going to unplug the carousel. 1, 2, 3. And unplug the carousel, and notice that it continues to spin round and round and round and round. But an interesting thing begins to happen. It begins to slow down just a little bit, almost imperceptibly. But gradually, it begins to gently slow down and comes to a complete stop. So that your body is relaxed, your mind has slowed down to the point where we can actually ask the question that you really wanted the answer to in the first place. Now, as you look at the carousel and you look between the horses of where the center of the carousel is, you'll notice that there's a little wheelhouse. It's right in the center of the carousel. You couldn't see it before because the horses were spinning too quickly. But now that it's stopped, you can see a very small door. It's just big enough for you to step through. And in a moment, not yet, but in a moment, I'm going to count to 3. And when I say the number 3, you're going to open the door and step inside. And interestingly enough, the person who you actually are, the person who knows who you are and where you came from, is standing on the other side. And so that you can keep this conversation private, I want you to close the door behind you, and I want you two to have a conversation. Very nice, very comfortable conversation. And in 2 minutes, you'll be able to come back out here and open your eyes and tell us who you are. You ready to step through the door now, Bailey? Excellent. 1, 2, 3. Step through the door and close it behind you. And you'll notice that on this side of the door, it looks exactly the way that you wanted it to. It's decorated the way you want it to be. The temperature is perfect. And you've never felt so safe and so comfortable and so relaxed. And you see yourself walking down a path, and down along the path there's someone coming towards you, and they look very, very familiar. And when they get close enough, you recognize who they are, and you two decide to sit down on this park bench right here. and you're going to have a nice conversation. And outside here in the world, we will be able to have a conversation, Jim and I, and you will not be aware of anything else except for this conversation that you're having internally. And take all the time that you need in the next 2 minutes. And then in 2 minutes, your internal clock will go off, your eyes will all be open, and you'll be wide awake.
Yes. Well, I was watching the, I can't see from my video camera, but from the studio camera, I was watching her fingers twitch. Now, it was left hand and right hand at one point.
That's not unusual. And generally what it implies is that there's a couple of different conversations that are going on. And I've actually had people where their hands raise up and you can see them going and having an argument.
I had a kind of a, not really an epiphany, but like an aha moment when you were leading her into through the door, and I realized, of course, the whole thing is all about trust. And not only trusting the person who is like the doctor, like such as you, but they have to trust themselves to bring themselves into a place where they can be safe.
Absolutely. Here's something really interesting. Do you have a family doctor?
Me personally, I haven't seen a doctor in.
Okay. Well, I have a family doctor that I go see once every 5 years or so just to annoy him because my blood pressure's really low, my heart rate's like 42, and he's like, "How do you do that?" I'm like, "Yoga." So anyway, I go see him, and a lot of people have physicians or dentists, or they have some type of healthcare worker that they trust, and it's really, really interesting that if this person takes this pill, and it could be a sugar pill, and hands it to you and say, "Here, I want you to take this, for your headache, and or for your blood pressure, or for your, your sleep problems, and I want you to take this, and in just a couple of days, you're going to be just fine."
We got the placebo effect.
55% of all medication is based on the placebo effect.
All right, so what you're doing is everybody has the potential and the ability to heal themselves.
That is exactly correct.
As long as they kind of lost, somebody has to kind of cut the way, like with a machete through the woods, kind of.
Sometimes.
Thing, and show them how.
Well, here's something really interesting. I always thought this was real interesting, was that schizophrenia is one of those little nifty things that generally develops during teenage years, and
right.
It usually stops around 30. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I
Unless they go into the medical, unless they go into the psychiatric community, and they have found.
So you're saying that it stops on its own unless it's interrupted or bothered?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. So it is actually, if you've got somebody, I know this sounds terrible, and they're probably going to send the AMA SWAT team for me, but if somebody's depressed, or somebody's schizophrenic, or somebody is bipolar, and you give them medication, and you keep them on medication for 10 years, and then you take them off that medication, 10 years have gone by, and they haven't spent any time learning how to manage these strategies. And it used to be that people learned to manage who they are, and they accepted who they are, and they learned how to work around their shortcomings. And nowadays we medicate it. So basically what I am doing is putting her into a position in which that she can figure out whatever it is that she needs to know about this meditation, this dream that she's having, that she wants to know who she is. And it would be ridiculous of me and pompous of me for me to tell her who she is, because she's really the only person that knows.
Well, I'm figuring that what people see in another person is like the tip of an iceberg. It's just a tiny fraction. It's very, very little of what is on the surface is what actually this person is made of.
Okay, Bailey's hands. Are you about ready to come back out here, or are you still working? Yes and no. Okay. All right. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to give you a suggestion, and it's just a suggestion, that in a moment, you're going to come all the way back out here, and when you open your eyes, you'll be completely wide awake. But tonight, Bailey, tonight, while you're sleeping and dreaming, you can work on this process as long as you want and as frequently as you want, whenever it is safe for you to take some time and close your eyes and really get to know this person, because you've known her forever. It's kind of like meeting an old friend that you haven't seen for a couple of days or a couple of weeks or a couple of years, and you just sit down and no time has passed, and you just feel so connected that you know that everything is okay. So in a moment, I'm going to count to 5. And when I say the number 5, you'll come all the way back out here and be wide awake. 1, coming back to this room, back into your body. 2, feeling like you need to move around. 3, taking a deep breath. 4, all the way back out here, and on the next number, eyes open, wide awake. 5.
Oh no.
Wait a second. Welcome.
Hi, Bailey.
Wow.
Welcome back.
My fingers are tight.
That's good because you were flapping around like,
Really?
yeah.
You know, I've heard there's lots of jerks in hypnosis.
But actually, it's
There's Jim.
next week. You know, this was a no.
Okay.
You
Felt
did
like my
quite well.
fingers were taped.
Really?
Yeah.
Because they were doing
Okay,
this.
hold on, everybody.
Really?
Hold on 1 second. Hi, this is Smokin Jim. Be right back. Turn it off, you little bastard.
We're taking a break?
We're going to take a little bit of a break here
Okay.
because I can't get my microphones in the way. Oh, you little... This has been such an exciting thing that I misplaced my microphone. Anyway, we're going to take a bit of a break. This is Smokin Jim. It's 6... Glasses aren't on. It's 6... 6:50 p.m. Central Standard Time here in Plano. Back in a few minutes, okay? Because we have a lot of interesting things to talk about. Because I was watching Bailey, and wow. Remember when Rachel was
Didn't hit
under
you at
Sharon's...
all.
Remember when Sharon was under... Rachel was under Sharon's care?
Oh, was it Sharon?
Yeah, and Rachel was actually having...
Yeah.
Yeah, similar.
Really?
Be back soon. Damn it. Hi. Smokin Jim back here, who just pretty much screwed up his own intro. Anyhow, what we just witnessed here was Bailey being hypnotized by Dr. Michael Harris. And I found it quite fascinating because the physical manifestations were evident. I mean, he said, the hands would move, and Bailey was like just kind of sitting there, and this will be on YouTube, and you'll be able to see it.
Okay.
That your left hand would move, and then your right hand would kind of start moving, and it was kind of interesting.
They were having a conversation.
Yeah, it's. I mean, when I was a child and going to Catholic school, excuse me, I would have silly little conversations between my right hand and my left hand, my good boy and my bad boy side.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what my parents thought about it. They never mentioned it to me, if they ever heard it or whatever, or saw it happening. But I had little hand wrestling matches with trying to, I guess, defeat temptation or whatever the church was telling me I shouldn't pay attention to. Like the fact that I should be left-handed, for one, but
That was then.
that's another session. Okay, I'm kidding. Back to Dr. Harris and Bailey. Now, what were we... I must say that... This camera's off kilter here. There we go. I unfortunately don't have a pre-camera to... Never mind. Anyway, we're back on cue here. And I was watching Bailey move as you were directing her through hypnosis, and her left hand and right hand, as you talked about. But as I sat here listening to you, I couldn't help but think to myself, if that were me, I don't know if that would work at all. I mean, focusing on the wall and that kind of thing, it seems pretty simple. And I'm not saying that as an insult, like that sounds simple. I'm just saying it as it.
There are lots of different inductions.
Okay.
And for really, really busy people, there's a technique of overwhelm.
Okay.
And
When you say busy and you look at me like that, what do you mean?
You manage lots of different things. I've been watching you as you're doing. You're carrying on a full-scale conversation. You're adjusting the camera. You're watching the sound things. You're busy.
Yeah.
Okay? And my guess is that when you sit still and you close your eyes, you're still really busy. So...
Okay.
So for somebody who is really busy like that, you would do an overwhelm and have them pay attention to their breathing. And if you listen really carefully, you can almost hear that lava lamp behind you as you're paying attention to the fan, as you're feeling yourself breathing in and out. And as Bailey is scratching herself with her right arm, you also have to check the monitor to make sure that the sound levels are,
as I do, yeah, it's always...
So what I am doing is I'm looking for the exact number of things to give your conscious mind to do until it goes, oh crap. Let me just sit here for a second. Mm-hmm. Milton Erickson was absolutely galactically famous. He's one of my mentors.
Thank you for using that term, galactically.
Galactically famous for... If people wouldn't cooperate, they came into his office, they obviously wanted something, and they were absolutely determined that he was going to fail. He was okay with that. He would fail miserably. He had 24 grandchildren, and he would sit there and tell them about every single one of them, and there's no way that they could get out of that office because he wouldn't stop talking. So if they wouldn't agree to go into trance, he could bore them into trance. And I can talk forever.
See, so can I.
Yeah, it'd be one of those interesting things, and there's lots of different examples in which, I don't mind. If somebody comes in and they want to play the game, called "You're not going to make me do anything," I'll make it easy for them and say, "You're absolutely right. You're in the wrong place with the wrong person at the wrong time." It's like I've given up a long time ago feeling any type of compulsion to help everyone.
And one of the best
when I have somebody in my office, if I don't feel that energetic vibe with them, I will refer them.
Right.
Because have you ever heard the term ma'ai?
Ma'ai?
Ma'ai. It is a term that they use in Aikido called proper distance. And the proper distance for me to help someone is when I am close enough to them energetically or emotionally that I can feel an empathetic pull, but I still have a sense of a differentiated self. If I don't feel anything from them, or if I feel competition from them, I'm wasting their time, my time, and their money.
Okay, so your hypnotism is more than just putting them in some kind of a calming them down.
I'm not doing it.
Focusing. Actually, the whole thing is there's more to it than just sitting like we just did here.
Mm-hmm.
It's whether or not I can communicate with you, whether or not we're like kind of simpatico.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're not, if I don't feel it, then I can't do it.
Exactly. I do have a question for Bailey.
Okay.
I'd love it.
Okay. You were telling me, we were off air, but you were telling me that you saw, instead, and this is not unusual, I wanted to point that out, and generally I give this instruction, is whatever instructions that I am giving you, that you feel perfectly welcome to change them, so that if I'm talking about bouncing a red rubber ball, and you're remembering a conversation that you and Jim had 2 weeks ago, that is a perfectly appropriate interpretation of my instructions for you.
Okay.
Okay, so then when you were saying, I was talking about a carousel, because it's an interesting metaphor, and lots of people have busy minds, and unplugging a carousel and having it slow down to a stop is a useful metaphor. But instead, what you told me is that you were seeing waves and waves of waves and waves, and that there was something in the center, and that you stepped through it. So you were still able to carry out the instructions in a way that worked for you. And I think that it's important for people to know that. Do you have anything that was on the other side of that door that you feel comfortable with sharing? Because I'm perfectly okay if you say no.
All I saw when I walked through the door was it took a little bit because the waves, they're wonderful waves. I started to see a figure on my left side. I think the figure stepped forward and then I didn't see it anymore.
Okay.
So maybe it was just me stepping into me. That's the only way I could think about it
Okay.
as it was happening. Is it stepped into me?
Mm-hmm.
So
Or perhaps could it be something that this is just a beginning?
Well, I
That,
did.
you know, she needs a few other times to
did-
kind of get through that, whatever it is she needs to get to
Correct.
recognize
I
this
did
person.
give you a post-hypnotic suggestion that you are perfectly welcome to return to this and return to this. And I've given you my business card. If you will contact me tomorrow, I'll send you an MP3.
wait a minute, when did you give me that card?
Last time I met you.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I don't recall it. Okay.
My flexible about now is my understanding of now is really flexible. You know, 'cause I
Okay.
met you a couple months ago,
Right. This
so
is true.
that was right now.
I was like, when did that happen? I don't have
Anyway,
it. Where did I put
If you'll
it?
send me if you'll call me and text me or email me, I will send you an MP3, which is very, very similar to the trance induction that I did. It's close enough that you'll be able to follow it,
Okay.
and then you'll be able to go back. And I'd be really, really interested when you find out who you are and who you're becoming.
Well, I can honestly tell you, I had fear at first.
Wait. Let me break in. Did you have fear of what was coming up before it happened? Or did you feel fear as it was
The closer
going
I
on?
got to the door,
So you were already kind of under and you started feeling fear?
Yes, I was about to walk through the door, and as I was getting closer to that door, because the waves had to slow down so that I could get through the door, I started to have this fear, well, maybe I should just turn around and run back, because I felt I could run back if I wanted to. I didn't have to go there.
But did you feel that you were afraid that I could run back, but I have to go forward kind of feeling?
It was, I have a choice. I can either run away and not discover what's bothering me, what's haunting me to this point, or I can go find out.
Yes, but you understood the choice,
But
and
you
you
had
had
choice.
the choice, the ability to choose.
Yes, I had the
was
choice.
best for you.
And I chose what I wanted to do.
Okay.
High five.
Because this is this is so important for me. I mean, this is causing me issues about who I am and where I'm from. I don't know. I know I'm Bailey and I'm here in Texas, but that's not it's not me. Does that make sense to you?
Oh yeah, perfect sense to me. Yes.
No,
I don't know who you are either.
Do you understand, or are you just pulling my leg?
No, I understand.
Okay.
And I honestly, for me, I've come from a world of privilege and, nice house and a summer vacation house and, a new car, bippity boppity boo. Who the hell cares? I have, I was told by, who was it? Was it? I think it was one of our witches. You're not really witches. If you're watching this, I know. We just call you that for convenience sake. One of our wonderful 3 ladies, that I am following my father's path because there are, issues that, I have to deal with him. I'm like, oh, for Christ's sake, whatever. So I really don't know who the hell I am, I'm trying to I'm trying not to want so much. I'm trying to be happy with what I have. And I feel a lot of conflict in what I should be doing and what I could be doing. Am I happy with what I'm doing? I don't know. Do I really know what happiness is? Have I ever been happy?
Well, what you're doing is everybody says that you're a lot like your dad.
Oh my God, I know.
You're falling into the same thing he did. But you don't have to. See, you're trying to figure out who you are. Are you or are you your father?
Well,
and me, I just don't think I'm from this world. I don't belong here. When I say I don't belong here, that's what I mean. I don't belong in this world. I don't belong on Earth.
Right.
You do. You belong someplace else. But you're lost in your dad. You and your dad are so much alike.
Oh my God, drove my mother crazy. But
yeah.
It's also that it's not bad that I'm like my dad, but I think the paths were. Do
you remember in the prior to the '60s where it was absolutely okay for people to want to be like their dad?
Yeah.
And then somewhere along in the '60s when they came out with Est and Gestalt and whatever it is, that suddenly if you were like your dad or you were like your mom or whatever it is, it became a bad thing.
Yeah, you've only got 3 years on me, so. I remember Where Have All the Flowers Gone, and I remember I saw Peter Palmieri live.
Okay.
And anyway, that's notwithstanding, but I know what you're saying.
But there was a shift, and we stopped being proud of our parents.
I have had issues with what my parents are and how they are, and how I was affected by them for, let's say I'm 52, about that many years.
Right.
But
you need to invite me back and let's have a whole conversation about tribalism.
Man, you can come back anytime you want.
Okay. Because tribalism is extremely important. In order for you to be in the tribe, you have to stay in line, follow the crowd, pray to the same gods, eat the same fish, and eat the same berries, just like everybody else.
I'm allergic to fish.
Okay? And if you look at the United States, historically, every single innovation that we have made has been by someone who got kicked out of the tribe. And then they create something, and then when it gets to a certain level, then they're brought back into the tribe, and they are this gigantic.
That's Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Exactly.
Rankin Bass, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Steve Jobs, Bill Gates.
Yes. Bill Gates.
Robert Fulton. The steam engine.
Yes, I know.
Okay. The only reason the media showed up at the side of the Mississippi River is so that they could laugh their butts off at Fulton's folly. But unfortunately, it worked, and it changed our economy.
Henry Ford.
Okay, so I encourage you to continue standing outside of the tribe, and it's totally okay that you don't fit.
Well, my dad was never home, and I mean he didn't really abandon us, but he was a workaholic. He had his ethics were to take care of, make a family happy and
provide.
Provide. We have the big house and the couple cars and the yippity yap and all that kind of stuff. My mom always said I would have taken $10,000 less a year and more time with your father. but they were on opposite ends of
Right.
what was going on. And here I am stuck in the middle saying, well, I know my dad was upset with me a few times because when I was a teenager, I'm like, I'm sorry, like that part of what you wanted us to be is way past.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't really connecting with him. And he would walk away from me, dejected. And I think about it now, and it hurts me to think that I hurt him. I didn't mean to.
I totally got to come back. And I'm going to send you an audio.
All right.
Okay.
But, I'm sorry, but I was a kid. I didn't know any better.
Right.
But
There's a great book called Iron John by Robert Bly. And I have a digital audio of it. I'll send it to you. It is absolutely fabulous. And it will help you understand this entire process that you're referring to. I think it would be an interesting conversation.
Okay. I'd love to have you back, and we'll talk about it. See, what's happening, like my dad, a few years ago, he's been living in Santa Fe for quite a few years with
I like him already.
his wife. Not my mother. Anyway, she's okay. Hi, Diane.
The bottom line from a therapeutic standpoint, when I have people come into my office, they generally have one of two things or both happening. One of the things that what you're referring to is your emotional wound. Okay? Mm-hmm. Your father was absent, your mom didn't like it, you were stuck in the middle, and they were trying to get you to choose in both directions, and that's unfair for a kid. That's the wound. Okay?
No, actually, that's not what it was.
One of the other things that we haven't addressed yet is, on top of that, there's this other part of you called your unconscious mind that has a deep longing. Okay, and when you take your longing and you take your wound and turn it into a resource, and you blend those two, then you get to have a happy life. But in the meantime, there's lots of sleepless nights, lots of questioning who you are, what am I doing, why am I here, all this other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it's this shadow work, and I know I'm going to get in all kinds of trouble because you're not supposed to say, it's only love and light, but it is truly the dark places, and it is truly doing our shadow work where we are taking back the giant face from our father, taking back the witch's mask from our mother and owning it as that is us.
Yeah, but see, I really can understand that, and I understand it because I can pinpoint parts of my life when that would make a lot of sense. It fits in like a big fat puzzle. But I mean, I have tried to, and I thought I had, forgiven my parents for how they acted and what they did. My dad was absent. My mother blamed him for how miserable she was. She took it out on us.
Of course.
We're like, blah, blah, blah,
Sounds
whatever.
like a 50s
but
household
I'm
to
50
me.
years old. I'm in my 50s now. That's over.
Right.
And I learned to understand why they did that.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't do it on purpose. They did what they knew how to do. So I don't blame a rattlesnake for biting. That's what they do.
Right.
So if you don't want to get bit, don't step in front of
We
one.
totally have to talk about tribalism.
Tribalism, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as this thing, like, these weird things that are happening to me, my dad lost his job when he was 50.
Mm-hmm.
He worked for Time Magazine for many, many years.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know the ins and outs of it, like all the deep, dark secrets of it, but suddenly he was without a job. He ended up being security guard. I lost my job that I've been done since I was 17.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I lost it for the same reason he did. He lost his. It was, we weren't doing what the boss wanted, but wait a minute, this is what you never told me. And wait, what are you talking about? It's business.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a security guard. And Bailey, remember when I was talking to a friend of mine who was trying to get me a job with his business now?
Yes.
Which was a recruiting company.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking to my younger sister about this, and she said, "Oh my God, what are you, following Dad step by step?" And I said, "What are you talking about? Dad did that. Why did he do that?" I didn't know this. I don't remember it. Are you kidding me? And it was one of the three darlings, the three angels, who said, "Yeah, you've got something with your dad. You've got to reconcile." Okay, fine, but we were never very close.
Can I tell you about an interesting client that I had?
Sure.
I had an interesting client who came in, and he was a little nervous about what was going on, and I said, okay, kind of like, what's going on? And he goes, well, my grandfather died when he was 42. He had a massive heart attack and died. His father had a massive heart attack at 42 and died. And he had a couple of other uncles that had done that as well. And I put this gentleman in trance. Oh, by the way, he was 41.
Yeah.
And when I
Imagine.
talked to, I set up communication so that we could have like some type of communication what was going on. And sure enough, his heart was pre-programmed to die, which is really a bad thing if you want to continue
Wanna live,
living.
yeah.
But he had this very fierce belief that he had to follow. And these people were they were very affluent, and they went to the, everybody went to the same college, and they did all this other stuff. And to break outside of the family unit was a bad thing. And by him surviving his parents, he didn't have permission to survive his father. He didn't have permission to make more money than his father. He didn't have permission to do something other than what his father did. So they were doing they were literally cloning generations.
Wow.
So that might be one of the things that you might want to consider when you're out mowing your yard, which, by the way, is super zen. I love to mow my yard. Is have a conversation with you and find out if you have permission to accelerate beyond the existing family model. And if you don't, give me a call.
Oh, well, okay. I'll just do that. I've my dad a few years ago decided that he wanted to move away from Santa Fe, and his wife, his current wife, well, then I don't know what the hell age she is right now. Much to the rest of the family's surprise, and like, what? And my younger sister at this time was living in Saranac Lake, New York, just shy of Lake Placid, its own sort in Canada. And Dad moved up there.
Awesome.
He did?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Awesome.
that.
He divorced his wife, and he moved up there.
I did not know
He
that.
moved back shortly after.
Oh.
And everybody was saying, my whole family was like, what's wrong with him? And I said, good for him. You know what? I said, for so many years of his life, he was like, I have to do this and I have to do that. But you know what? I don't want to do. I want to do this. And I said, go for it, Dad. Go do it.
You've answered my question.
And he found it was wrong. It was bad, and he moved back. But it's like, damn it, just don't listen to anybody else. Stop it. And be happy because, Dad, you can't be. You're my dad. You're my ex-husband. Well, you're like, fuck it. Go do it. You're 80-something friggin' years old, for Christ's sake. Do what you want to do. Be happy for once in your life. Make your own decision on what you want to do to make yourself happy.
Yeah.
And he found out that it was wrong. But I think he sitting with my sister and some old family albums, he kind of came to an epiphany about how he had done as a father, and it wasn't a good thing. He said, I wasn't a very good father. And I disagree with that. I mean, he wasn't the best father. I mean, he wasn't Mike Brady or, Ward Cleaver or any of those other idiotic fools. But as I've told my sister before, you know what? None of us have been in jail. None of us are hooked on drugs. None of us are hateful or deceitful or mean. We all have learned something from our most ridiculous, non-functional, just whatever parents. So there's something that they gave us.
Mm-hmm.
And the other family friends we've had who have kids who have gone on to being doctors and lawyers, well-known and successful, to me, that's great. Good for you. I'm glad you're happy. But we have survived things that you might not have survived at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I bless my parents for a lot of things. They piss me off, and there are times when I feel like if you were here right now, I would slug. And I've told my mother, if you were here right now, I would slug the crap out of you. Like, why? Just because you piss me off, Ma. Oh.
I have to.
But I can say that to her, and I said it to my dad too.
Yeah, I got to come back.
But it's I have, I would not be alive today for a really good therapist I saw at 104, and that what I learned about them and why they were how they were, which is why they taught me to be how I am. So, you wanted to say something a minute ago. Do you remember what it was?
Nah,
Nah? Okay.
that was so long ago.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I talk a lot. I go on. That's why I got a radio show. I
You
go
notice-
on and on.
Yeah. And you notice I don't try to jump in.
Nah. No, there are a lot.
That's
There
'cause
are
I can
lots
reach your
of,
web.
There are lots and lots of things that we can talk about, and I do remember what it was I was going to say. Is that in the concept of tribalism, one of the things that is no longer present in our society is that in primitive culture, they had an absolute of this is a child, this is an adult, and they removed the child from the parents and put them through manhood training and womanhood training. Gave them a new name, gave them ritual scarring, filed their teeth, whatever it was that they did.
Sounds like religion.
So more so than you might actually realize, because one of the things that occurred in these primitive rituals is that there was a funeral, because they were literally celebrating the death of the child and the birth of an adult. And from a spiritual standpoint, what they are doing is disconnecting you from your earth parents and connecting you to, and whatever you call it, Mother Earth, Father Sky, the Great White Spirit, whatever it is. But there was a physical ritual death and an emotional, mental, and spiritual birth. And from that point forward, you were a responsible adult. And we have no ritual like that. I mean, we have Mick Jagger, who can't get no satisfaction.
Wait. We also have First Communion and Confirmation, if you're a Catholic.
I understand all that, but with all of the other rules that they have and the guilt and the shaming, is it actually worth having?
Oh, not at all.
Precisely.
Thing. Actually, I don't put bumper stickers on my car because I think it's tacky. But if I were to put one on there, it would be "God save me from your followers."
So, do you have any other questions on your
Yes, Bailey.
session, or do you just have more work to do when you get home?
Because Bailey, seeing as we're getting late here, it's almost 7:30. We got to go because you've got to get out of here for your other work.
No, it's something I can work on.
Okay.
But next time I have a ton of questions for you.
I have a funny feeling we're going to be calling you an awful lot, Dr. Harris.
Well, I told you I love the sound of my voice and I believe everything I say. So.
Oh, good. Same with me. I love talking and I'm always right. I think that's the same thing.
It's very similar.
Yeah, whatever. Okay, Dr. Harris, it's been so much fun having you here. I've really, really enjoyed it. You are not only just intuitive and smart and knowledgeable, but you're also a very fun person. You're a nice man. And Bailey, yeah, well, you know how I think about you. And,
I know.
Yeah, I know. No, there's always great times having Bailey along.
Do you mind if I tell your listeners how to get a hold of me?
Go for it. Do your
Okay.
best.
I have a couple of websites. It's Dr. Michael Harris, all lowercase, no punctuation. I also have a weight loss website called hypnobandtexas.com. And you can find me on Facebook under Coach Dr. Michael Harris or Dr. Michael Harris fan page. And
Wow.
basically, if you type in Dr. Michael Harris, Dallas, Texas, and you can't find me, you're not looking very hard.
Actually, let me put it in a little tip here because I've gone on Google and typed in Dr. Michael Harris, Dallas. Type in Dr. Michael Harris, hypnotist, Dallas, and you'll get right to his page.
Oh, yeah.
It'll be right on top. There are a lot of Dr. Michael Harrises around.
38.
So, well, that you would know. But you're the only one who's a hypnotist, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I've had a great time. This has been a great show for me. I love it. And Dr. Harris, always welcome back here. And for pizza, and I'll maybe next time I'll make something better.
Pizza rolls?
I'm actually cook something. I make a great meatloaf.
Awesome.
Anyway, okay. Bailey, thank you for for twitching at us during your
Oh, no
session.
problem.
That's going to be on YouTube. Okay, anyway. And Eddie, the cat, of course, making an appearance here and there. We'll be back here on the Smokin Jim Show on mykdan.com, hopefully next week. MyKdan is going to be running all the time, so listen. Click on the videos. You're going to love them. And we'll see you another day. Good night, all. We love you. And Dr. Harris, thank you. See you next time.